I feel like I did a good job hitting the energy. I feel like I could also have been a bit more connected.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I want to let go fully and not think about speaking. I want to just speak. Just want to speak normally and not think, am I doing a good job? Is this intense enough? Is this meeting the needs?
Hmm.
I want to just speak and have my speaking match the energy flowing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Less mechanical, less struggle, and
Yeah,
more flow. Is that what I heard?
yeah, exactly.
All right. So let's go into an example. I'm going to ask you a question, and using snow globe, give me an example of when you did not feel you were connected to what you were saying. And it could be the session you did this morning. You pick a moment when you were speaking and you didn't feel connected. I didn't feel connected when.
I didn't feel connected when I was speaking about it was during an interview and I was speaking about divorce mediation and how it affects families. I was so scared about feeling like I looked okay, feeling like I was speaking like a professional, that I wasn't even connecting with my material. I remember staying up the night before this interview that I had the next day, memorizing word for word what I was going to say with each question that I had already had prepared before. I know that that's not what speaking is about. It's not preparing every single detail, every single word. It's actually feeling the content. Because if I just feel what I'm actually speaking about, then I don't have to really plan anything. I can be in the moment with my emotion.
Okay. Just using timer. Share with me what was going on in your mind at that time.
After
Yeah.
after I gave the interview, I thought, wow, well, I got through that. But I also thought, I don't feel honest. Memorizing a speech doesn't feel honest to me. Sure, I understand that's what a lot of people do is memorize every word of a speech. But I didn't feel like I really knew what I was doing the whole time. It almost felt like I lost my train of thought. It was a blur.
Hmm.
I didn't feel connected in the moment. I felt like I got away with that. Wow. I was able to do an interview without shaking and losing myself. Yes, that's an accomplishment. But for some reason it didn't fill that hole inside, which is the whole of wanting to be me in every single area without having to prepare every single word.
Okay. What does it mean when what do you mean by connect? You didn't feel connected.
it's a feeling inside that I'm not connected with what I'm even saying. And so it doesn't feel honest and it doesn't feel authentic. I wasn't even connecting with the person who was interviewing me because I was so scared about the next question and if I was going to answer it correctly in the way that I had written out word for word.
So your brain was more concentrated on the script, the answers.
For me, it didn't feel like I was really doing an interview.
Let me ask you this. In 1 minute, share with me one of the questions you would have liked to have answered the way you felt was less memorized. Aaron, what are some of the things children do during divorce? How does it affect children?
Divorce, actually, not divorce in itself is what affects children. What affects children is the continued conflict, the fighting of both parents. That's what they internalize. And that's when kids feel like I've done something wrong. It's me. And so what children many times do is they don't know whose side to take. Do I take my mom's side? Do I take my dad's side? And so you'll see that children often take sides of one parent and shut the other one out.
Mm.
Or they might tell mommy everything that mommy wants to hear when they're with mom and tell dad everything dad wants to hear when they're with dad because they're so afraid of losing the love. And this is what parents see, and it results in court battles because they think that the child doesn't want to be with the other parent when in fact the child just doesn't know what to do and wants both parents and is acting out.
Very good. Is there a moment or an example where this has happened with a client or?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you the question again. You don't have to use names. And I'm going to ask you the question again. Karen, how does divorce impact children?
I remember this one time we had parents come in and the mom was saying, I want 100% time with the children. And the dad said, why? And she said, because every time our child, Johnny, we'll use Johnny, leaves, when you drop him off, he starts crying and he is uncontrollable when he's crying. When mom sees that the child just wants to be with her, she thinks that's because the child, Johnny, doesn't want to be with his dad. What we learn is that Johnny loves his dad, but Johnny also loves his mom. And so Johnny's sad when he leaves his mother. Of course, that's so natural. That does not mean that he wants to stay with his mom full time. And that's what we learned.
The answer you gave, the interview, and the two here, out of those three answers, which felt like that you connected with your words? What was the answer you want to give? Number three. Why was that? What made that different?
Because I went straight to a story. I went straight to a specific moment where I saw this happen. And so I feel connected to that.
So in this exercise, you had your prepared speech, your prepared answers, and you rehearsed those and practiced those. That was one. And in the two exercises we did here, where I asked you some questions, what was the shift?
It was your questions of, tell me a specific moment. And that I can do because that allowed me to focus more in the moment on a story rather than, am I saying this right? Am I doing a good job? I just focus on the story, focus on a moment. So I'd say that question was really helpful because you took me from here and then we focus more on what is a specific moment. And that helped me connect with the emotion that I said I wanted to.
If you were to have this interview again, based on today's work and what you just shared with me, what steps would you go through to change the outcome? So when you answered questions, you answered them the way you felt connected and authentic.
That's a great question. I would go about it completely differently. Just even based on our practice together, I would take each question and think of a moment and not even necessarily practice moment because I'd want to connect with it emotionally. But my preparation would be to think of a moment, to remember a story, to write down the story, and then to say it in the interview. And then the next question, the same thing. Think of a situation, an example, something specific that I can connect with.